All right, you guys. So I'm going to kind of take you through a little bit today, some things that I've been working on, and show some of that to you. I'm going to follow up with some questions and whatnot. So here we go. First off, my wonderful fiance has decided that she's really into some crafting stuff. She's gotten her a Cricut maker, which is kind of like my CNC in the welding shop. You can put a design in, be it words or a picture or whatever, it'll cut it out. Well, this thing does it with vinyl, leather, and a lot of other things, and they all come on rolls, right? So she was kind of facing a multifaceted or a problem with multiple parts. And one of her problems is that whenever she goes to what they call weed the designs, which is like all of the negative spaces that are in something, say the letter O, for instance. Whenever you go to cut out the letter O, you have to pick out the middle part of the O, because you wouldn't want just a big circle on there, right? So, and that's what they call weeding. So that process is made a little bit easier by taking and putting a light on the bottom. You know how whenever you take a piece of paper or something and you have a light down on the bottom, or x-rays, the light shines through and makes everything easier to see. Well, that's one thing that makes that weeding job easier, okay? And she's also doing it out of our spare bedroom, which already has a king-size bed and desk and some other stuff in there. So she didn't have a really good table or something of the like to iron stuff on t-shirts and whatnot whenever she makes shirts. She does some heat press vinyl and some other stuff. So I needed a table, I needed that light, and then I mentioned all the stuff comes in rolls of vinyl, right? So we needed something, a way for her to be able to get that material, her vinyl, a way for her to be able to roll it off and cut it off easily. So she kind of provided me with the problem, and I came up with a solution. And I'm going to kind of show you guys some of that right now in what I've done, because I'm not all the way done with it yet, but I am close enough that I can show you guys a few things. So give me just a second here, and we'll have you ready. I tried to get everything ready before, but I didn't do a very good job. Sorry about that, guys. Basically, this thing is going to have, it's going to be pretty simple, okay? Pretty simple. I'll show it to you. Let me switch this screen around if I can figure out how. Maybe here? I don't know what that button does. Okay. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to actually do that or not, guys. I may just have to switch it around and hope I get it. So I think that's what I'll do. So here is a little board, right? So this board is going to be hinged back here. It's going to hinge to the wall. It's going to be up like this until you want to pull it down and use it, okay? Now you can see here that we've got a little lip that I have chiseled out. In that lip, we're going to take a piece of plexiglass, and we're going to be sticking it down in there, and this does fit. It's just has to be pushed down in there pretty good. And then the light will come from the bottom. So we've got some little LED strip lights that will attach themselves around this edge and shine out, as well as I've got this little reflective plate right here that will go on the back side and reflect the light up. Okay, so that solves our weeding problem, right? Okay. Now the table itself, you'll be able to use this part of it you'll be able to use that part to put t-shirts on, stuff like that. It'll be a work surface, so on and so forth. Now, whenever it folds down, I know some of you are going to have the question, well, what's going to support it? How's it going to stay that way? It's going to need something on the end, G. Well, sure. Absolutely it will. So, that's why we're going to use these legs right here that I made. And all they're going to do is they're going to hinge on the back side of this board. So this is the top again. So basically what we're talking about doing, guys, is so this is how this thing's going to store. It's going to store like this right here. And then the legs will have, there will be a couple of hinges up here that are going to allow us to pick this up and fold it back down. I just don't have the hinges on yet, but they'll be on in a few minutes. That's the way the legs are going to work, okay? Now, I want to show you another part of this. So that handles all of our table and weight supporting stuff, and that handles our weeding problem. The one thing that it does not do, however, is handle our issue of how she might be able to keep some vinyl close by where she can cut it, okay? So I'm gonna show you guys my solution to that here in just a second, as soon as I get done messing with it. Okay. All right, so my solution to the vinyl getting part is right here at the back. So this little guy right here has two little dowel rods that help hold him in place. You can see, you can move this, but it's not going to go anywhere on accident. See, whenever I pick it up, I pick the whole board up. So it makes a very good connection. And your vinyl can go on these rolls right here. And each of these dowel rods, guys, is just cut at precisely the right hole size, so I can just take and slide it back in there, see? And it's good to go. And you'll notice there's a little bit of daylight right under here. That's so that when you take your vinyl, you can take and stick it down under here, and it comes out and keeps it from bubbling and buckling on you. That's something that people that work with it a lot, I guess, have one of their chief complaints. So that's what we did. So again, this is, what this little guy does. So he goes in there. He's got these two pigs right here, and they go in those holes right there. Pretty simple solution, but it'll work. Now, to do this project, guys, I've literally just walked you through like the entire thing. It's not a super intricate one. It was, my materials list isn't very long, price list isn't very long, but hopefully my brownie point list is indeed getting longer. Now, guys, to do this job, we had to have a few different kinds of materials, which I've got out here for you today for us to take a look at. So we've got, I think on this deal, I've got maybe, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I've got 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 8 screws It's all I use for this whole thing is 8 screws. I used these interior wood screws because I didn't need and they are 1 5/8 deep. That's what one looks like right there. Guys, it's very, very important to not forget your friend tape measure. Okay, without a tape measure, guys, you can't guarantee accuracy or precision, and we need both. Anytime we build something, it needs to get our best foot forward and as much attention to detail as possible, and that's one of the places it starts, is accurate measurements. Okay, so we've got our tape measure, can't forget about him. Got a pencil, because whenever I went to go and get my holes all centered up, so that I could make sure I got my dowel rods all straight together, if you can see right there, you'll see that pencil line going down in the middle of this wood. So I measured halfway at the top of the board and halfway at the bottom of the board, and I connected the dots with my pencil. Okay, and that gave me somewhere that I knew I would be centered left to right, and then I just made a mark going down the board for my measurements that I wanted. So, pencil, yes. Now, this here, guys, is a wood chisel. And you can see how it's made. It's very, very sharp, okay? This is what I used to put these in there. I had to use this chisel. And basically all you've got to do, guys, is you take it, get it where you want it, and you can use this to kind of split the wood and go down. Now, when you're going with the grain, it's super, super, super easy. I mean, that stuff will pretty much come out. In fact, when you're going with the grain, you might chisel out a piece like this, okay? That long. But when you're going against the grain of wood, like I was up here, you can see it's not as clean. Still works, but not as clean. And I'm not a pro here by any means, but I've been around the block a time or two. So we've got our chisel, which we use to put that step into, or that notch down into that board, so that our piece of plexiglass can be recessed and flat with the top of the rest of the board. Okay, now when we use that chisel, we're either going to use it by hand or we're going to power it with the hammer. But, and let's see, so we use the chisel for that. Then you can see here I've got my drill out. Now, I used my drill and I used these 3 bits. Okay, that's an 1/8 inch drill bit right there for drilling pilot holes so that we didn't split the wood with the screws that we put in. This right here is just a little quick coupler that's got a Phillips bit on it. And then we've got us a little auger bit. No, sorry, not an auger bit, but a paddle bit for the drill. Now you'll notice this thing's kind of weird. This is only meant for wood. Okay, but this will go down and make a nice hole. You can see it's labeled 1/2 inch right there, which is the size of the dowel rod or those round sticks that I used. So it gave me a perfect size hole. Another thing I had to do was whenever I went to cut this hole right here, the initial hole, not to trim out that little bit on the top, but to cut the actual hole out of the board. I had to do 2 things, and so I had to first, thought I had this put up, I just got done talking about it though. So first I went ahead and drilled a hole down here in the middle. And then inside of that hole, I stuck this jigsaw blade down in the hole that I just drilled out and used it to make the straight cuts all the way around this rectangle. Okay. I also used quite a few of these. These are some cheap little Harbor Freight clamps. So they're adjustable. You push on this button and you can move it down, and you can move it, and you can close the jaws all you want to with your hand just for quickness, but then you can use this lever and pinch it down. Okay, so I use those to clamp all my glue joints and stuff like that as I was going along. So, let's see. That about covers the stuff that I've used here. I did use a couple more things that I didn't show you. I did use some wood glue, and I also used my air compressor, and then I also used I did do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I also did 8 brad nails using this little, or not brad nails, but finishing nails. And I use this little nail gun for that. So that's pretty much the project right now, and it's almost there. Like I said, all I've got to do is get those hinges put on the legs and get the lights put in there, and we'll be rocking and rolling. So that being said, that is our lesson for today. Regarding the assignment for it, what I want you guys to do is I want you to go back through right there at the end of the video where I showed you the tools that I used. I want you to go through and I want you to learn about each of the tools that I showed you. Now, some of them you may know about already. Hopefully you know about a tape measure. And, you know, for the ones that you know about already, fine, okay? But your assignment is to learn about the tools that you may not be familiar with. And the assessment that I'm going to do for you guys, because now we've got to do 3, so 3 a week. You've got a lesson, an assignment, and an assessment. So your assessment will be to tell me about each one of those tools that I listed and showed you, okay? So I'm gonna run through those one more time for you, okay? We've got interior wood screws, tape measure, got a carpenter's pencil, a wood chisel, a framing hammer. We've got a cordless electric drill. We've got let's see. Well, I showed you a couple of different drill bits too. The only one that I want you to investigate, the little paddle bit that I showed you. And then we've got a jigsaw. We've got clamps. I also showed you an air compressor, and I showed you an air finishing nailer. So I want you to be able to tell me about how all those things work. All right? That's what's coming on the assessment. Thanks for tuning in, guys.